One of the most visible ways to tell if someone takes pride in his or her car is by its appearance. Chances are a person who keeps a car clean is probably conscientious about its mechanical condition as well. And just as routine auto maintenance has changed drastically over the years, washing your car in the 90s is a lot more complicated than it used to be. And who better than Motor Week's own car care expert Pat Goss to show us all the proper way to clean up our act.
This time, John, I have a letter from Clifford Douglas of Mesa, Arizona. Now, Clifford has a 1988 Honda Accord with a clear coat metallic finish on it. One of these new types of paints that many cars have today. Now, Clifford wants to know, is there anything in particular he has to be careful of in washing the car? Well, you bet there is, because as these new finishes have evolved, the procedures involved in washing them has come a long way as well. We have to be very careful today. See, in the past, we could use just about anything we wanted, any way that we wanted to. The only thing we had to really be concerned with was getting the dirt off of the car. Today, we can't do that. Have to be particular about what we use and how we use it. First, what we put in the water, the soap. Used to be we could use dishwashing detergent, laundry detergent, or a general purpose cleaner. These are things you should never use on a modern car. They can actually damage the finish on a lot of these cars. What do you use? Well, you use a liquid car wash soap, one that's designed specifically for washing cars. Now, in some cases, you might elect to use a granulated soap, one that's in a powder form. If you use that, it does a fine job. Just be certain that you get all of it dissolved in the water. You don't want any of these granules in the water because they can be picked up on the sponge, and then that can lead to scratches in the finish. And that leads us to the sponge itself. Used to be we could use just about any old kind of sponge. Regular household sponge was fine. Not anymore. What you want to do is you want to use a sponge that is designed specifically for washing cars. Generally, it's going to be finer textured and it's going to be softer, so there is less chance of scratching the finish. Now, as far as the actual washing is concerned, the first thing that you do, you rinse the entire car to get all of the dirt particles that are just sitting on it. You're going to rinse those away. Then, when you actually start washing, you're going to start at the top and you're going to work your way down. The roof, the hood, the trunk, and then on to the sides. And you do one panel at a time. Now, as you're doing this, the sponge, you used to take the sponge and you'd go around in circles to get the dirt off. Don't do that anymore. You use the sponge much differently. You go in a straight line. When you get to the end of that straight line at the end of the panel, turn the sponge over, come back and repeat the operation. Then rinse the sponge. What you're doing here is getting all of the dirt out of the sponge so you don't scratch the paint. You're also avoiding those nasty looking swirl marks that you get in so many cars because of this circular washing action. Now, after you have washed the entire car, then you rinse it. Now, when I say rinse it, I mean thoroughly rinse it. You have to use a lot of water because you have to get all of the soap residue off it. And while you're rinsing it, rinse along the body side moldings because dirt builds up in there. Rinse up inside the wheel wells because dirt builds up there, and this promotes rust. So rinse all of that thoroughly, and also open the doors on the car and look at the bottoms of the doors. There are drain holes there that let water drain out. See that those are open. If they're clogged up with leaves or dirt or anything, take a wire, like a coat hanger or something, run it up into those holes to dislodge the dirt, and then gently flow water up into them to rinse that dirt away. That'll keep moisture out of the doors, and it'll keep the doors from rusting out. Now, you have to dry the car after it's been rinsed. Got to get rid of all of the water on it. And that is vitally important because if you leave water droplets on the car, what's going to happen is dirt will collect in that water. That dirt may be contaminated with chemicals. It mixes with the water, the sun hits it, and it etches the finish on the paint. It's commonly known as acid rain spots. Drying it, chamois, certainly you can use that. You could use an artificial chamois if it's a very good quality one. Be careful of the real cheap ones because they may be too harsh. You could, if you don't have a chamois, you could use a soft cloth. Now, speaking of this soft cloth, one thing that you want to do with it, even if you use the chamois to dry the car, take a soft cloth, dunk it in some water, get it moist, and then go around the edges of the doors and the door jambs to keep all of the dirt out of there. It makes the car look a lot better when you open the door. And if you do all of this, the car's finish will last a long, long time, many years in most cases. And if you have a question about your car, whether you want to keep it clean, make it last a long time, or make it run better, whatever it might be, write to me. If I use your letter on the air, I'll send you a Motor Week t-shirt. The address is Motor Week, Owings Mills, Maryland, 21117. That's Motor Week, Owings Mills, Maryland, 21117.